Welcome back. As I promised, the Restore Act is going to bring millions and millions of dollars to our community, and there's a group of folks that are working really hard to make sure that we use it wisely. And with me next is Mr. Jonathan Tallman from the Tallman Group, LLC. He is one of the Restore Act committee, and with him is Sal Nodjomian. Did I do all right?
Perfect.
All right. And he's a consultant to Okaloosa County, an executive vice president of the Matrix Design Group. So you're the consultant side and you're a committee member, is that right?
That's correct.
Well, fantastic. Let's start with you, Jonathan. Tell us a little bit about how'd you get involved in the Niceville Chamber of Commerce, and tell us a little bit about your company.
All right. Well, I joined the chamber in 2008. I was working with a Fortune 500 company at the time, and in 2011 decided to go out on my own. And we were a financial services company. We specialize specifically with insurance, employee benefits, retirement planning, and long-term care.
Fantastic. Now, you've managed to get yourself selected for the Restore Act committee, but there's probably a lot of folks out there who have no idea what in the world the Restore Act is.
Well, the Restore Act is, in a nutshell, it's the fines that were associated with the BP oil spill. And it is, I guess the best way is sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Millions and millions of dollars basically coming from the BP lawsuit, isn't it?
That's right,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the Restore Act Advisory Committee, what is it and how did that come about?
Well, the committee is comprised of several different industries and different groups of people. We have different representatives from the League of Cities, from the fishing industry, from the Economic Development Council. We have 2 at-large members that are on the committee, and then we also have tourism, and Niceville Chamber has a representative, which I'm not the Niceville Chamber.
Sure.
I'm an at-large member, and then we also have
So we basically collected a large group of folks from all over the community, basically a homogeneous slice, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, Sal, all this committee and everything, how much money are we talking about?
Well, that's really what this is all about at the end of the day. We don't have an exact dollar figure for what this is going to be for Okaloosa County, but we have it bracketed. And depending on what the federal court ends up finding in terms of gross negligence versus due diligence against BP, BP could be fined anywhere from $4.5 billion to $17.6 billion.
Billion with a B.
Billion with a B. So then there's a formula that basically breaks that down based on all the different counties that are affected, what's your population, miles of shoreline, things like that. At the end of the day, Okaloosa County could see something on the low end of approximately $30 million, all the way up to about $118 million just from pot 1 alone. And what Jonathan is doing as part of the ORAC is helping the county decide the best way to spend that money.
I think one of the biggest crimes would be if that money came in here and we didn't do anything but normal business, and 5 years from now we all look back and said, what happened to all that money, right?
You're absolutely right, Dave. And that's the crux of why the ORAC was created as an advisory committee to the Board of County Commissioners. Their job is to work through what we think is going to be a lot of projects and programs that are going to be submitted, obviously with anywhere from $30 to $117 million.
Yep.
There's going to be no shortage of great ideas.
Now, I'm sure that there's quite a few viewers who are just thinking, why don't you send everybody a check? But there's actually rules to how we can spend this money, aren't there?
Absolutely. Specifically in Pot 1, which is one of 5 pots within Restore, there are what are called allowable activities. Now, under Pot 1, which is what Jonathan and his team are dealing with, you can use the money for natural resources. You can use it for economic development, job creation, infrastructure, tourism, things like seafood, promoting the seafood industry and things like that. Those are all allowable activities. What our county commissioners would like to see, and what the ORAC is guiding us as consultants towards, is developing something that not only takes the infusion of dollars and makes it good for the county now, but creates long-term sustained benefits.
Oh.
So that is a huge thing that we're trying to figure out, to wrap our arms around. How do we come up with the highest and best use for these dollars versus just putting a check in somebody's pocket tomorrow?
And there's so many diverse needs and wants and desires across the county, which is why the committee's been created, to get input from everyone, isn't it?
That's right.
So in the end, we want to make sure that everyone's represented. We've done something wise and intelligent and hopefully progressive with this cash infusion and create a good outcome, right?
Absolutely. That's the goal.
It sounds fantastic. The checks in the mail. When are we going to see this
That's
money show up?
what's the old show, $64,000 question? That's in this case, that's a $64 million question.
We could have a great plan and no money.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Dave, this is still in federal court. So there's still some adjudication that needs to occur between, a Department of Treasury and BP and numerous other litigants that are involved in this process as well. That's one of the reasons that we haven't rushed out yet as a committee to say, hey, start submitting your projects now, because the money is not sitting in a bank account yet.
Right.
So we are very methodically going through the process, establishing evaluation tools so we can analyze the potential projects going to come in, do it in an open and transparent manner so everyone understands what the evaluation factors and criteria are, and eventually, by pulling in public input and things like that, come up with what we think are going to be the best projects for the county. With that said, directly to your question, the money could still be a year away for all we know.
Sure.
So we're going to go ahead and have our process in place so when the monies do flow, we can go ahead and open up that spigot and say, all right, start telling us what you want to do with the money, run it through the ORAC, they'll run it through the Board of County Commissioners, the final approval authority, and we'll eventually start executing programs and projects.
As we would say in the Air Force, we're leaning forward in the chalks a little bit, aren't we?
We are leaning forward. We're going to be ready to go. It's a hurry up and wait.
Well, and not only that, but that's a really wise thing to do, because we know what happens in government when money comes in and sits. All of a sudden it gets earmarked for things we didn't necessarily want it to be
Right,
earmarked for.
yeah.
Not that it has ever happened in Okaloosa County. I'm talking about other places
Sure.
I've lived. Other places I've lived. So we want to make sure we have a good plan in place. And is that pretty much the way the process is going to work? You're going to create a prioritized list, and as soon as the money hits, it'll start funding? Is that?
I think in a nutshell, you can look and say there's a near-term, mid-term, and long-term strategy. Near-term is what we're doing now. We're in the process of educating, we're doing public engagement, we're starting our process of building the model. We're going to move to data gathering and analysis in the next stage, and ultimately the final product that we as consultants need to deliver through the ORAC is what's called a multi-year implementation plan.
Sure.
And that plan will essentially tell Department of Treasury, who ultimately controls this money, this is how we intend on using the money. This was the rigor that we used to prioritize these projects. Please start sending us the grant funds.
Fantastic. Jonathan, when and where do you guys meet?
We meet, our next meeting is February 6th at 6 p.m. at the Student Services Center at Northwest Florida State College on the 3rd floor.
Are they open to the public?
They are open to the public. Everything we do, we strive for transparency. All of our meetings are recorded. We follow the same sunshine law standards that the state governments and the local governments follow. So as far as all of our emails, you can look at the emails that we send to one another. All the meetings, like I said before, are recorded. Some of them are even video recorded, so you can log on to the county's website and look at those.
If folks wanted to find you at the Tallman group and give you some input, or ask you to do their financial services, how would they do that?
Well, they can just give me a call at my office. The number there is 279-6964, or they can send me an email at jtallman@thetallmangroup.com.
And Sal, if folks wanted to get in touch with you as a consultant, how would they do that?
850-333-3102 is the best way to get in touch with me.
Fantastic. I can't imagine any two better hands to have this money sitting in, and it sounds like you guys are doing some great work for our community. Thank you very much for your diligent efforts, and I look forward to seeing the result.
Well, thanks for the time this afternoon.
Thank you.
Pleasure's all ours. Don't go away. Our very next one up is going to be our February Business After Hours, and you're going to want to hear all about that, so don't go away.